Well, one of the subjects I've been very concerned about for quite some time is the subject of mentoring. And in the studio with me today is certainly no strangers. We have Bob Amundsen with us today and Clem O'Hara, who are both with the Rogue Valley Youth for Christ. And we want to talk about mentoring today. And I know, Bud, we've had this discussion.
Sure.
And Clem, thanks. Nice to see you here, because I know that you're really involved in it. Give us an update. Where are we with the whole subject?
Go ahead, Clem.
Okay. We need mentors. I mean, that's the big thing. We are servicing a lot of different organizations now with all the cuts that we've had. We have organizations calling us that we've never had before. We have Jackson County Mental Health calling us. They've got lots of families that need support, and we've got kids that need mentors. We've got children's services, foster care people calling us.
Wow.
We worked with Community Works and have been for a while, and then we also get mentors for kids at Hearts with a Mission. So we've got lots of people calling us and saying, hey, can you help us?
All right, now the subject of mentoring is a big one, and Bud, you and I and even Kevin have talked about this. I don't want that term mentor to scare people away, because it comes with this big aura with it, like, oh, you know, I got to have a PhD in psychology or something. Not the case, right?
No, exactly. You know, it's I think our culture is basically saying, oh, hey, I've got to do a whole lot for the kid, and you know, I have to plan a lot of things, and if I'm going to do youth work, then I have to, you know, be hip and fun and cool, and you know, and the truth is that we've kind of backed ourselves into a corner with that, and the reality is, you know, for as long as there's been children, the adults have had to look behind them and say, hey, you know, how do I bring these kids into my life? And that's really all we're asking folks to do, is just make some space and bring the kid into the activities that they already enjoy doing. And the fact that they would, you know, reach out and go to a kid, in essence, is majority of the battle.
Clem, you do this with YFC, and you head all this up, and I'm going to imagine you've got some incredible stories. But first of all, how big of a time commitment is this for somebody who may be interested in doing it?
You know, it can be ideally if they can connect with a kid on a weekly basis, and it could be, you know, running an errand. It could be go get some ice cream. It could be as short as, you know, an hour a week. But our minimum is 5 hours a month. So it's a couple of visits, you know, a month. Kids love to text. They can teach you how to text. They love to teach you how to text. They love to teach you how to get on Facebook
and Twitter and all
that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So it's not a lot of commitment. The reality, though, is we want mentors to be with kids longer term, because these kids, it's going to take a while for them to their walls to come down and feel like they can trust an adult. So it's really more long term. Our goal is that whatever age you start with your student, you would be with them till they graduate from high school.
Wow, that's wonderful. And let me just say again to all of you who are listening and watching this morning, this is about giving of yourself to someone else. I think in these times in which we live, you really are looking for fulfillment. Try this. Just try it. It'll change your life. And it's amazing what giving of yourself a little bit each week may do. And you said it so well. It could be texting. It could just stop by, just go to a game with them. It's amazing that we have this problem, you know, because so many parents and young people are disconnected, and you guys are trying to come in there and give them support. But you must have seen some incredible stories. You know, share with us what you're seeing through mentoring.
You know, it's a two-way street. It's not just for the kid. I think a lot of mentors come in thinking, you know, I'm going to save this kid or whatever. But you know, reality, God works in both of their, you know, our lives and their lives. And I think for me, the story that comes to mind, and this was just recently. Actually, I've got two girls. About a year and a half ago, connected with a 5th grader. And when I went to go see her, the school officer was just leaving the office, and I thought, oh my gosh, Lord, what have you gotten, you know, what are we getting into here? And this young girl was in the 5th grade at the time, and had gotten in all kinds of trouble, and we were able to match her up with a mentor right away. And the first few months, it was challenging. But where she is now, she's a 7th grader, and she is doing so well. And just before, it was like in the spring of last year, I called to see how she was doing, talked to her teacher who recommended her. And she had, in the past, when the girls would tease her, she would get in a fight. Well, then she'd get in trouble. Wow. But he said that he was so proud of her because some girls were picking on her, talking about her. She went to the office and reported it. And so that was a huge change for how she handled things in the past.
Wow.
So teaching kids how to do things differently is really what happens in mentoring. And sometimes it's just done because we're doing things differently. We're having patience with them. I recently met a girl a lot of times I meet kids in the spring because they're trying to get them connected for the summer. So I'll get lots of calls just before school's out. And I had met with her, and I left feeling like, oh my God, Lord, this is the toughest kid I've ever dealt with. What are we going to do? Are we even going to be able to find her a mentor? And by God's grace, he did, and she's doing well. And I spent a lot of time trying to talk her into something that she needed without making her feel like she had to do it. Because a lot of these kids feel like they're being told all the time what to do. And being a mentor, you come alongside and you guide them and you love them. And she actually made the right choice to be in a program that's really going to benefit her. And she said to me, I don't want to do this, but I know it's what's best for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, we're talking about mentoring, and mentoring is an incredible opportunity for you to change a life. And you say, well, I'm not qualified. Yes, you are. If you're living, you qualify. You're taking in oxygen, you're above grass, you qualify.
There you go.
Yeah.
And if you feel inadequate, but you have training, right?
Yes, we do. We do what we call Mentor College 101 and 201, and the 101 is really just built to empower people to get through the first interactions with the kid, and give some general information about where kids are at today and how to interact and relate to them. And the 201 is a little bit more in depth in issues that we see in the lives of kids, reactive attachment disorder and some other things that you just run into with kids that have been abandoned. And the truth is, kids are not sitting there judging you on a moment-to-moment basis in regards to, again, how cool you are or what you look like or what you wear.
Right.
For the most part, you're an adult. They don't expect you to be who they are, and they don't want that.
Yeah.
And so the truth of the matter is just, be loving, be caring. If you are a set of ears that are willing to listen to them, that's huge. They will look over the funny things you wear or funny things you do or whatever because you actually care. And we've had mentors in their 80s with junior high kids that just because they'd open up their home and let them come in after school, feed them a cookie, and listen to their day, they transformed the kid's life.
It's just so simple,
Yeah,
and yet
truly.
we shy away from it. How do you match a young person with a mentor?
Well, first I pray, but we go through a application process both for the mentor and the student, and I interview the students and I interview the volunteers, and usually the biggest thing that I look at is personalities, but also some interest that the mentors may have. Like I usually try to find if there's something that a student loves to do, and I try to find him a mentor that maybe has that same, passion for. And a lot of times it's just, God just fits the pieces together. But it's not the next student gets the next mentor. It's thought through. Yeah. And in relation, the thing that really happens in mentoring is it's just really a relationship.
Right. Let me say this before we take a break. But if people want to investigate this, what should they do?
Well, on the 25th of this month, we're having our Mentor College 101, and the first hour of that is really an orientation, and it's just an introduction into what mentoring is and how we do it, and the need out there.
All right, so if you're interested, get a hold of YFC. What's the number down there?
541-779-3275.
And I would really encourage you, if you feel the tug on your heart, the Lord's maybe saying, hey, you know, you can do this, get a hold of them, take this one class, go to the orientation. I think you'll find it to be really fun, challenging, and extremely rewarding. And you'd be surprised how God will use Clem and the staff there to match you with the right young person with the right interest and things like that, and from there you'll be changing a life, and your own life will be changed. And I really want to encourage you. If you know, so many people wonder around, well, what good am I? How can God use me? And one of the things we hear so often here at the Dove is, you know, my life is such a wreck. Yeah, I believe, but you know, could God really use all this garbage in my life? The answer is yes. In fact, you may be overqualified. I mean, it's that kind of stuff that God can turn around and use, because, you know, you're going to be matched with a child that is running those same kind of risks. And you understand, you have empathy.
Well, it's just like your interview earlier this morning. You know, God uses us and the experiences that we've had and the challenges that we face. That's the fabric of our life that is available to, you know, that next person, whether it's a peer or a member of the next generation, a kid coming along. And when we've been worked over a little bit, we're softened up to share what's important, and also how God worked in our life.
Well, we're talking about a very important need right here in Southern Oregon, something that you can get involved in and that you can change your life. And I really would hope that you just don't pass this on. I want to challenge you to pray about becoming a mentor. And you say, well, my life's too busy. Is it? Think about this, because it's a huge need. And coming up October 25th, YFC is going to have a special 101, Mentoring 101 Day, and you can call the office, 779-3275, and sign up for that one day, what's a couple hours, I guess.
Well, it's a 1 hour orientation, then they're free to go or stay around for the next 2 hours of training.
Okay, and what really encourage you, we're talking about mentoring, and Bud and Clem are here from YFC, and you know, I wish we didn't go to that break. Our conversation during the break was powerful. I want to come back to you first, Bud. You were saying that, referring that the scripture says we need to go out there and get them. And the model's kind of been the other way around. We thought, well, if we put it, and I'm not being critical here, but if we just put a youth pastor and a youth program in a church, somehow they'll come. And that does happen, but it doesn't really reach and some others that are falling through the cracks.
If you look at the history of youth ministry, you know, it was churches basically following some of the parachurch models of evangelism by having a younger guy go out and connect with kids in their community and draw them back into the church. It was very much missional in that. Well, basically, youth ministry is now transformed into kid church, essentially, which was not the purpose initially. But the thing is, we're coming out of 50 years of having professionals work with our kids. And I think we've settled into that, thinking that that's the best way. And we don't see that in Scripture. The reality is, it's whether it's Deuteronomy 6:4-9, the Shema, that's talking about, hey, you know, you need to follow these commandments, and then you need to teach the kids when you're up and when you're down, when you're in, when you're out, all along the way. Or whether it's, you know, James 1:26, where it's talking about, hey, this is true religion, to some Bible translations would say, visit the orphans. Right. Well, it's really, that word is to go to the fatherless. Right. And that's who we're dealing with, you know, the relationally abandoned. And we're challenged to do that. I think we are having a hard time in this modern society to get our heads around the fact. I think the average Christian may not know what you guys know or see what you guys see, and that is that there's this huge portion of our culture that literally have been dropped and have been abandoned. And I don't think we quite get that. And we're only asking you to prayerfully consider maybe an hour a week, an hour and a half a week. You know, I want to challenge you to start it and see what happens. But and how an hour a week can save a kid from going over the cliff. But during the break, you said, Clem, you've seen the problems
accelerate, not go down, but get bigger. I mean, some of these kids are coming out of homes and they don't even understand basic things like thank you.
Yeah, it's really sad, and I think it's because in our busy society, people don't have the patience for the kids, is what I see it, you know, and that is what really a child needs, and that's where the relationship and having the patience that God's going to give you to come alongside and help these kids to learn some things. And a lot of times it's just through modeling, because they don't have people that are investing quality time in them, and so they're not seeing, you know, it's okay to sit at the table and people aren't yelling and screaming. It's okay to have a meal and sit at the table. You know, they're not used to, you know, picking up after themselves or cleaning up after themselves, or, I mean, it's just the real basic things that blow me away. But what I see a lot is, you know, the things that when I first started off, there were, you know, the kids, the girls came in very shy. Some of the boys were starting to get in trouble, and those were little things. But I mean, now you've got kids that are, I see a lot of kids, not only girls and boys, but they're just one more bad choice to detention. You know, one more boyfriend. You know, the girls are looking for love in all the wrong places. You know, they're being sexually active so early and don't even know what they're doing. They're so unequipped for so many things that come their way, and it is just really sad. And there's not the people that take the time to just love on them and guide them and just say, you know, and ask them questions. Do you think this is what's best for you?
Does it take a while to build authenticity between the child and the adult? I mean, I would imagine it takes a little. Can I trust you? Are you real?
Well, the more hurt a person is, the less likely or the longer it takes for them to build trust. And so that's the thing. We see more and more of these kids coming out really hurt. But, you know, it just depends on each kid. Sometimes we connect an adult with a kid and they engage pretty quickly into a give and take relationship. Other kids are much more untrusting and it takes a while to draw them out. Again, a lot of that plays out with how the mentors, if they're showing respect and spending time listening and being very trustworthy in their interactions, then, you know, that kids do make progress. But guarantee they'll test the system.
Yeah.
They'll push the buttons to see, is this really true, and can I trust this? Yeah, that's guaranteed. That's going to happen.
All right. Now, I know this sounds a little trivial, but maybe it's not. Can texting work? Can emails work?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Tell me about that.
It's funny because we've got, and this wasn't my plan, but God put it together, is a lot of kids, that's how they communicate. It's not ideal. And there are a lot of mentors that, you know, I have a couple particular teams that I think of, and they text all the time. You know, they text 2 or 3 times a day to each other. So it does work. And the cool thing is, if you don't know how to text, that kid loves. You know, we're trying to empower them, but they love to empower us too.
I have them come over and wire the studio here.
Yeah. So, you know, texting can work. You know, running to the store, bringing them home and just having a meal with them and your family is something they're not used to. You know, we had a story of a young man years ago that didn't have a dad. A lot of the boys we work with don't have dads, don't even know who their dads are, or have a multitude of who they call a dad who's really not a dad, who's not active in their lives. And his mentor had to go to one of the hardware stores, and so they went, and he was a carpenter, the mentor, so he went, and so it's not just your basic hammer. And he went in there, and they were checking out all these hammers, and which do we get? And I mean, the kid came back to school and told the counselor that he had the coolest time with his mentor, because he said, I didn't know there was so many kind of hammers, and I got to, you know, he learned all this stuff that we take for granted. And that's the kind of stuff that we come across, things that we take for granted that expect kids to know and they don't know. You know?
So no age limit, right, Bud?
Exactly. You're breathing.
Yeah, you're breathing.
Yeah.
And I really want to encourage you folks to think about this and pray about this. This is a huge need. Now, how many do you need? I mean,
as many as can come
see,
up, yeah.
So it's endless, and then we couple that with what Kevin's doing at Hearts with a Mission, and the list goes on. And now that the community social service groups are looking to you to fill in the gap, I can't imagine how big this thing is.
Yeah. Well, we keep it. Well, I don't know what the list is right now, but generally it's at least 20 kids for hats, and there's, I think, in our juvenile justice mentoring program, there's another 20 kids on a list waiting for mentors. So just 40 kids are
waiting right
now for mentors.
Okay, so let me encourage you again. I say this because when I sat down with Bud and Kevin and Clem and others, and I began to realize what this is all about and how simple this problem can be solved, you may say your life's too busy. I want to encourage you to slow down and ask the Lord if He'd have you become a mentor. I think you would be surprised how you can fit this in and how it may work in your life and how it can be integrated into your family. Now, if a family wants to do this and there are other children involved and they bring an outside child in, how do those dynamics work?
That's usually, you know, we consider all that. When we're doing the whole put together, we consider everything. And so we try to fit a kid in a family that's going to work. There's times we've had kids that their mentor's pregnant, and that works for that kid. They love kid, you know. So we make it work. I mean, God makes it work, actually. And so, yeah.
Well, I just really want to encourage you to think about this and pray about it, and then give them a call. And if you can, if you feel the tug, probably the best thing you can do is on October 25th, go to the 1-hour orientation meeting. And then if you feel led, you can stay for the next couple of hours training. But call the YFC office, 779-3275, and get involved. You say the juvenile one, how involved is that for a mentor?
Well, since most of the kids, all the kids start out in detention, and so it might be a visit to detention, or really as they get shipped out around the state to different either treatment centers or they go into a correctional facility, it's mostly letter writing and hopefully some visits throughout the year, but it's mostly through letter writing.
Yeah. I think the other thing is that we can't get our brain around some of the stories. You probably have seen it all, Clem, right?
Oh, yeah, quite a few of them.
Yeah. And yet you've seen some real turnarounds, right? And what does it mean to the mentor? I mean, have you seen some lives changed by the adults that got involved? You
know, what I hear from mentors is that it really changed who they were, and it really is a blessing that they felt like God had used them. I mean, they go into it thinking it's for the kid, but God really changes our hearts. And I think the reality of knowing that you made a difference, because all along you really don't know you are. Yeah. And then years later is really when you find out, when a kid comes back and says that was the best time I ever had. But people don't realize that, and it's just a matter of being patient with yourself. Well, let me encourage you, pray about it, and if you feel the tug of the Lord, just give 1 hour and give it a shot. Take a listen, take a look, and that'll be over at the YFC office October 25th. Call the office, 779-3275, and sign up for that 1 hour orientation coming up October 25th. Thank you both for being with us today.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you.